getting recorded. Okay, let's start. So what did we do? Let's clear out the console and start. So I integrated a ChatGPT and I said, okay, let's write an essay on rows. Okay, and if you see, sure enough, the outcome will come. Meanwhile, I open my openapi account. Yeah, so if you see, what has happened is I have actually consumed a ChatGPT API, passed it a prompt, right? So I've passed it a prompt. In the prompt, what I've said is that I should write a small essay on the topic that I'm giving, right? So in the payload, right? Yeah, I have used the model text DaVinci 003 with a prompt which says write 50 words essay on rows. Temperature is the randomness. I've kept it to 1, which means make it very random, then max token, etc. Right? This is what the outcome comes. So this is a no-brainer, right? So there are a lot of open API models available via ChatGPT for summarization, for Q&A, for etc. and writing horror stories, whatever. And then you can consume that as an API and write a small essay. Now, does this mean that writing a good essay, writing a good story does not need creativity from humans anymore? I doubt. And that is where prompt comes into picture. So let's look at what I mean. So what I'll do is in my coding, and I'll take you to the coding also later. I will just add some more points into my code line, right? And I'll go to the ChatGPT. I'll make sure my prompts are being used. So now I'm saying from whatever I give as an input to the application, I'm going to say a prompt which says not only that write an essay, but also make it, and I'm giving some genre, make it interesting, make it inspirational, etc. And also include something. Now, also include something could be something very random. It's absolutely up to your imagination, and the chat should still try to work towards it, right? So let's see with this what happens. So now what I'm saying is same rows, right? I say genre, make it inspirational, all right? And now I say add creative prompts. What do I want to do? I would say something very random. So I will say also include, say, rains. I don't know. So it could be anything. It could be Tokyo City, for example. So you can connect abstract concepts and prompt it, and then there would still be an essay being made by ChatGPT. So prompting, which is now going towards prompt engineering, becoming more and more significant skill sets, will still need this, right? So rose is an inspirational symbol of beauty and resilience, blah, 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 right? And see, it included rains. Rains provide nourishment to the rose, blah. So maybe it's not very creative, but from a contextual perspective, but you could add things like, oh, write me a story about Rose and its struggle, and add a lonely cloud in a sky into the pitch somewhere, or make the climax at the 25% of the story, right? So this is what prompting means. So we still need applications, and we still need humans to prompt right things to the ChatGPT to get the outcomes from this, right? However, this is still high level connectivity in terms of, okay, connecting ChatGPT to the application that you want to use and pass certain tokens. We know that the tokens overall can be maybe around 4,000, 32,000 tokens is something that we are planning. But what if you had huge amount of documents? What you have industrial manuals that you want to digest, and then based on that continue a conversation with the ChatGPT. That is where maybe the tokens would expire, become too costly, others. So we may want to look at other options to integrate in and around ChatGPT. What we want to do with this. So I will go and open another project. Meanwhile, let me just pause. Okay, so what are we going to do next? We are going to now look at, as we were discussing, having number of documents being chunked using Langchain. You should look up at Langchain. For the text splitter, which will split the text, which will then be used to create vector embeddings. So vector store, we will use the Facebook AI similarity index, which will then have index the entire content based on the similarities, right? And then the similarity index will be used to look up the context of what I'm asking an end application. And then this chunked out code of similarity will be fed into the chat GPT, for example, to summarize, to for a Q&A, etc. Right? So this is the way we would then go from taking away dependencies from token and go into the large language models, into the consumption of indexing based on similarity, creating chains of conversations out of it, and then going and feeding and using at right prompt states or right readiness states the chat GPT again for its conversational responses, right? So of course, I've not done the entire thing. What I've done is I have picked up a code line where in my code line, what I try to do is I try to open up a file. This is a CSV file converted from a PDF, right? I would try and show you the PDF also later. Yeah, it's an industrial document manual or of IIoT, for example, publicly available. It's a Siemens document. And from there, what I try to then do is I split my document using the splitter. I create the Facebook AI similarity index out of it and search a word. Say, for example, I'm searching for latency. So based on this latency and similarity index vector store, I will get a contextual content out of this document, right? And that document then I feed to my chatbot. GPT 3.5 Turbo is the model I use over here, and give me a short write-up on this. Or you could even say, summarize it in 20 lines if the content is more. Here I know my content is going to come out very less. I don't want to consume my cost on the API, but then my chatbot would prompt out the right answer to this, right? So fingers crossed, let's see if it works and if I still remember all the commands. So I am just trying to do npm. I'll just use my memory. Npm run build just to make sure everything is not broken since I did this coding, and I just now do a npm run start, and I should get this response. So now you see what is happening is based on the sum of the prompts I did, yeah, I'm using a deprecated thing. I will change out. Now you see the page content. From the entire PDF, it found out only this as a similarity outcome. And this similarity outcome is now something I take from the index and feed it to the chatbot. So now my Langchain is now coming out with a contextual information and feeding that to chatbot to do its conversation. Right? And this conversation can now continue because my Langchain has this continuity of the indexes in the vector store, and I don't have to worry about tokens getting expired. Right? So this is where for the large language model, I connect Langchain with a Facebook AI similarity index and try to feed it to the chat GPT for summarization and making it simpler for me to understand, right? Um, uh, Unfortunately, I didn't have enough time today to convert this into a UI application, but you get the context, right? So now I have Langchain. We converted vector index, Facebook AI similarity search indexes, and connected the large language model to ChatGPT. So this was another part that we build on top, right? Now let's look at where the world is going to with all of these things, right? So now you have things like agents, right? Now what are agents? I can create now agents who can think of tasks, right? For example, I can say, hey, I want to create a Scrum Master agent. What is the goal? To match the resource availability to the tasks, right? And I say start. Now what this agent is doing is I've started creating an agent which will have certain tasks. So it'll think and come out with tasks. Oh, I have reached my daily limit. Sorry for that. Otherwise it's so what it'll do is it'll create tasks saying planning, Scrum, Agile based planning approaches of resources, skill mapping, time mapping, holiday considerations, etc. Task breakup. And then for each of this task, it will now start talking to ChatGPT and get the entire context and solve that work for you. Right? For example, what I had done was, one of the bots that I had done was an IoT design bot. And I said, okay, you need to give me a design which involves a particular problem statement, which then needs to consider all the layers in an industrial automation and give me recommendations across all of these layers on the best setup for me. It's almost like a commissioning expert bot, right? And now what you see, what it does is it starts creating tasks for it. Identify industrial use case for IoT, identify requirements, determine layers involved, describe each layer of IoT. Then it starts the task. And for each of these tasks, now it starts talking to ChatGPT, for example, and then creates an entire document out of an analysis, solves the problem, and hands over the outcome of the problem to me. This is where agents are going, right? So for with agents, you can create now a thinking brain which has tasks, which will then talk to ChatGPT, right, to get more insights from the crowdsourced information and give you a solution at the end of it. But this doesn't stop there. Now imagine you have different agents, like you are a CEO of a company, you can create an agent of a CFO, you can create an agent of an innovation expert, you can create an IT expert, all these roles with maybe even conflicting KPIs, and then give them one problem statement. They will work in the background for you and come back to you with a proposal. All right. Now, if you think that world is far away, we are wrong, right? The world has caught up a lot more. So, for example, one of my favorite findings that I did was Camel AI org. Camel AI, in my understanding, does something similar, right? So you see, there is an agent app, right? Now, what it does is you can actually select two agents. They have done a simulation. Of course, we can code it like that. So you see, I now have, for example, I want to have a counselor. Let's take something off from the IT. I have a counselor as a assistant role, and on the other side, I'm going to take up a designer. I've not done this before. Let's see. Even I'm very curious on what happens. Now, to these two bots, I'm going to give a task. I'm going to tell them, come up with best web application reflecting counselor client needs. All right. This is what I'm asking them to do. Yeah, I'm asking them to do this. Let's see what happens, right? Make agent chat. This is going to take time. So what is happening now here is agents take time. Agents are the, or group of agents is your team to whom you give the work, complex work, and they will figure it out and come back to us, right? So two axes, right? One is left y axis if it is complexities of doing something, which is algorithmic. ChatGPT and others have caught up. But now if there are complications in your task, right, which is mathematical, there is a whole narrative of an entire business case or a problem statement, big narrative that you want to solve, that is complications. That is where agents come into picture. You can give the entire complication handover to your agents, and then they can come back and start answering, right? So you see there are some prompts already started over here, right? So it is a chat based approach where they are now telling you design user friendly web application. They are coming up with a solution. Clear, intuitive, responsive design, minimalistic, visual cues, consideration, right? Create a personalized user profile, etc., etc. And if you keep going down, they will also start telling you things around a counselor psychology. If that is the counselor that we were talking about, it will talk you about prompts and etc. Right? So it keeps the real time mood tracker. Right. So this is something now these guys are doing and coming up with a blueprint of what is the requirement for a web application for a counselor client relationship. Right. This is a fantastic thing. Now you can think about having a scrum master, a PO, and an architect in one place and giving them a challenge, and they're coming out with what is the best answer possible. Right. So this is where you have now gone from ChatGPT. We went into large language model. We went into Langchain. We went into first we started with prompts. We went into vectorization and AI, Facebook AI similarity search index. So approaches like that, and then we came into the world of agents. And here is where the potentials open up for you. This is where the innovation should start. This is what is available today. This is not future. So anything that we do, innovation should start beyond it. Think about giving a personality to a machine in a shop floor. Think about when you get an alert in your business case saying, oh, there is a red flag, we need to solve it. Instead of solving it, giving a final objective for solving, right? Rather than solving the current need. For example, okay, I suddenly have 3 team members on leave. I still need to get my work done. What do I do? Instead of asking that, I should say, okay, but I want to make sure that my customer satisfaction for this product by the end of this month still stays high. Now, with this as a outcome, if my 3 team members are not available, what is the overall path you would want to give? And I will give multiple agents who are involved to discuss that and come out with a proposal for me as well. All right. And of course, all of this supported with the knowledge base, your PDFs, your CSVs, the entire knowledge store can be given to large language model, create a Langchain out of it so that you can do a continuity and not run out of tokens, talk to them, and at right point, use the ChatGPT in the right formats and models. All right, that was